Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niyeh bidvaro. The Torah tells us that each of the tribes of Israel had their own flag, a flag that described in a certain sense a certain characteristic of that tribe. We see that football teams, for instance, have their own symbols. And as a matter of fact, when their fans go to a display of their abilities, when they go to see how they're playing, they put on shirts, sometimes jackets, wearing the symbol of their team in order to show their support for that team. The armed forces in the United States and many countries, the Navy has its own symbol, the Air Force has its own symbol, institutions have their own symbol, their own characteristic. In a certain sense, they want to display that. That tells you who they are up to a certain point. So that is really very divisive in a society, when each one has his own banner, each one has his own flag. In other words, I am all for myself. But yet, you take a look at society in general, you will see in the United States, each of the armed forces, the Navy, the Air Force has its own symbols, but yet there is a flag of the United States that has to do with everybody. It represents all the desires of everybody together. In a certain sense, you have to divide in order to understand things. But you must also remember there's something that unites us, that we have a common purpose also. Each individual has his own preferences in this world. I want to accomplish certain things, but there are also goals of society. And I have to insert myself in society in general. Actually, you have a dichotomy. My own needs and the needs of society. My institution versus what society in general needs. There's some kind of balance that you have to strike between your own needs and what somebody else needs. I remember reading about a certain gentleman that came to Israel, and he saw that certain members of a Hasidic group had white socks, and the white socks covered part of their pants. And he said, why do you do that? Well, they said in Europe, in the streets, there was a lot of dirt and so on. So in order not to dirty your pants, you put the socks on top, and this way the socks are easier to wash than it is to wash pants. Finally, he saw the leader of that group. There were a certain group of Hasidim called Gur, and he asked the Rebbe, why do your followers still wear the pants with socks covering part of their pants? We're not in Europe. In Israel, there is no such problem. He says, you're missing the point, my friend. This is the symbol of being a follower, a member of Gur. When you wear the pants like that, that is a symbol. So we have to bear in mind, symbols are really something external, but they also identify you as part of a group. So are you part of a group, or you're an individual also? I think each and every one of us has to come to some kind of balance between our interests, our personal interests, and the interests of society and the interests of the nation. You also have to balance your own interests and the interests of your family, of your children, of your wife. Maybe their interests are something else. Well, this is living. You have to decide each and every moment. You have to take care of yourself, but you also must have in mind your family. This is what our rabbi said. If I am not for myself, mi li. Who's going to be for me? But on the other hand, they also said, but if I'm only for myself, ma'ani, what am I? You cannot live just for yourself. You must take care of yourself, but at all times, you have to have in mind the needs of the people around you, the needs of society in which you live.